Hey class, happy Wednesday afternoon. It's about 4:30 your time, or wherever you are, whatever time it is, wherever you are, whatever time you're watching this video. Thank you for jumping in. Hope you're having a fantastic Wednesday. I hope your week is going like you'd like it to be going. It's certainly a warm day to here today. We have red flag conditions in my county, in my state, as a matter of fact, the entire state. And actually had pretty good fire along the Buffalo National Wilderness area. You might be familiar with this if you're a history buff or into traveling or national parks, hiking, anything like that. It was actually the first river, I believe, set aside by the government to be sort of a national wilderness area. There's an actual definition for that, how that's defined, but it's something to that effect. We got pretty good fire up there. Lots of teams. It's about 10% contained. Lots of wildfires going on across the country, especially California. What we have is nothing in comparison to what they have. So a lot going on. Keep our friends in California in your thoughts and prayers, if you don't mind, as we move forward, because they are having some tough times out there. To keep those wildland firefighters and the other crews in your thoughts and prayers as well. They're having a difficult time right now, and I'm sure they're tired. There's only so many to go around. So lots of stuff going on today. I want to touch base with you on this Wednesday. Just say to you again, well done, doing a great job with the discussions. I've graded all your assignments and then reading your written assignments. I want to commend you on the job well done. It has really been excellent watching you grow this term. I've seen tremendous growth in your research ability, your ability to write, to really understand the material and really capture, get a good grasp on APA. I know I harp on that a lot, and as I've said in the past in videos, it's important to learn how to research and write in academia. Especially, this is a graduate class. It's not, it's an upper class. It's certainly not an intro class and a bachelor's degree, so it's important that you have a grasp of what we're doing as you move forward. Each of you are leaders. If not, you'll certainly be leaders as we move forward. You'll have opportunities for job growth and to move forward. And I think it's important as you do that, you have a real good ability to understand research. In my job in emergency management, I was asked once to work on a grant program to install or to apply this protective window film that's used, in public buildings in DC and elsewhere, sort of a ballistic film that goes on the inside, not the outside. They do make some outside, but this was going on the inside to protect primarily for disasters. So if we had a tornado, some of that wind debris, and we added to the hospital, added some buildings, and it created sort of a urban wind tunnel. And I had to work with Texas Tech Wind Lab and Mile University, Arkansas Tech University, on designing a little bit of a study. It was more of an off-the-cuff study. They didn't want a complete study with 400 pages. They just wanted a couple pages explaining why it was an issue and what we needed to do about it, just to justify this window film. Even though we had a grant for it, we also had to put some money into it. It took a lot of work and effort in order to make it happen. So when you write those reports, when you do those studies, it's important to have those skills, and I commend you for all the work that you're doing. You'll probably have an opportunity to do something in the future, whether it's interoperability, fire science, law enforcement, whatever it is you have going on. So just keep moving forward. Lots going on this week. Great discussion about international terrorism. Are we putting too much money and emphasis on international terrorism versus domestic preparedness? Certainly our country spends a lot in this area since 9/11. We spent some money before, but it changed after 9/11 attacks, as we've discussed. It seems that we put a lot of emphasis. We've spent tons and tons of money on wars, and CIA operatives, and even the NYPD has their own detectives overseas, keeping an eye on what's going on internationally so they can protect the city. So, thoughts on that? If we need to cut back on our international terrorism efforts, put more money into domestic preparedness, especially all hazards approach with a focus on, as many of you said, with a focus on, hazard mitigation for natural disasters. And Craig Fugate tweeted the other day about that. He says, there's really no natural disasters. There's just disasters. There's no natural or man-made disasters, technological disasters. They're just disasters. And we tend to tend to categorize them to have a better understanding of what they are, because I think that's the way the human mind is. So I'm seeing that go down that path in the emergency management world. People are just, sort of following that statement in that there's really no natural, technological, man-made disasters. They're just disasters. But either way, I've been able to have, that extra funding. I'm sorry, I keep messing with my headset here. Having that extra funding in order to deal with those hazards in the United States would certainly be helpful. We can, hopefully mitigate, etc. But I think on the other side of that is we are protected. We're seeing some lone wolves now, probably because the United States government has done such a good job in protecting the homeland. And all those different agencies, local, state, federal, seem to be working real hard to do that. And I think the lone wolf terrorist is going to continue. Now, I very well could be wrong. It's not the first time, but I tend to think that, we're going to see some more of that terrorism even in some of the smaller cities. It just makes sense to a degree that in those higher population densities, we would have this sort of activity, such as this gentleman that suspect that strapped a homemade bomb on himself in the subway in New York the other day. Because there's more people, it gets more attention, gets more media attention, and certainly, we go back to what the root word of terrorism, it explains or projects their or promotes, I should say, their cause more, because there's more people. If you went to Ohio or Iowa or somewhere, you went to a cattle farm, a dairy farm, and you blew up a cow barn, yeah, it's going to get some attention, but certainly not what would happen if you were in Boston or New York or LA, somewhere like that. So good discussion this week. I'd encourage you to jump in as soon as you can. Remember that Thursday's the deadline. Try to get your initial post in. Jump in with those conversations. If you see a post where only a couple of your peers have jumped in, you might consider jumping in those as well, and share a little bit of information if you can. Please try to respond to more than two of your posts, two of your peers. I'd like to see that. Other classes, it's included in the instructions in order to get 100%. It's not this one for some reason. I don't know what's not in there. But please try to do that. It does keep the conversations going, demonstrates your understanding of the material, and certainly your willingness to really give 110% with the discussion. So look at those instructions. Look at the file. Keep rocking. You're doing a great job. I hope you have a fantastic Wednesday afternoon. If you need me, let me know. Look at that feedback I gave you, if you don't mind, in your discussions as well as the papers. I really had, try to be lenient because, as I mentioned, I try to teach versus just focusing on a grade. But I do have to make those adjustments because I want you to learn. You can always revise and resubmit if you'd like to do that. Great post this week. You're doing a fantastic job. Keep rocking. We're a week and a half away, guys, ladies. Week and a half away from doing the final. Finishing. Christmas will be here. The new year start. Kickoff on January 8th, as I mentioned before. So hopefully you're ready to move forward. For me, I'm going hiking. I'm going to take a few days off after the term. Go in the woods and get my hiking gear out and go where there's a bunch of bears and sleep on the ground. Just because I hadn't done that in a long time, and it's time, to get away. I hadn't been able to do that, and I need to look at the stars. In the meantime, you can always catch me. I'll have my cell phone then if you need me out looking at the bears. So you can always reach me if you need me. I'm here for you 24/7, 365. Keep rocking and have a great week. You're doing a fantastic job, and I am proud of you. Thanks for stopping by.